we offer the credit. We offer the credit because before, I can tell you right now, because I took her call. I asked her 1,000,001 questions to get clarity on, whether or not she needed emergency services. And she was trying to be slick and smooth, or whatever you want to call it. Hey guys, welcome back to NEMT Van Talks. I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Monica.
And we're the owners of an NEMT business based in California. Now today we're going to talk about the importance of having a driver assessment form. Your drivers need to be fully aware of what they should be looking for when they are going to pick up clients, especially when they are doing wheelchair trips and gurney trips. Yeah.
So you're absolutely right, Jasmine. It is critical that, the drivers are fully aware of what they're walking into and that they use their discretion when they're transporting. So we created a tool for our drivers that they currently use for them to make that determination, for them to make that decision as to whether or not they deem that client can, is safe to transport utilizing non-emergency medical transportation instead of emergency transportation. So let's talk about it. Jasmine has an interesting story she wants to share.
I thought you turned into the storyteller because you were just okay. We had a client that called and said, I would like for you to take my mother to the ER. Now this is a client that we've transported 2 times in the past, and so of course we asked our questions. What's going on? Is this an emergency situation? We did explain to her that we are not emergency services. We're not equipped to handle emergency situations. Is she breathing? All this. I felt like I had turned into like
NEMT
girl, 911 operator dispatch. But I did all that and I asked all those questions because I wanted to make sure that she clearly understood that we're not emergency services. We can't handle emergency situations.
Because she was asking to be transported to the ER. Okay.
Right. And she got lucky because this was a same day call.
I know, it was.
So we require 48-hour notice. But anyways, because she was a repeat client, we found a way to squeeze her into the schedule. So we went ahead and dispatched the driver out there, and lo and behold, we get a phone call stating that based on the assessment that the driver had did on the wheelchair client, he didn't feel comfortable transporting her. When he got there, he said that she just looked
fatigued. He was like she was a little fatigued,
And he said her body language, she was slumped over.
She was pale. Not coherent, like he was just
like delirious.
Yeah. And he was just basically trying to have small talk, like he was greeting himself, like letting her know where she was being taken to, and she could not comprehend what was happening in that moment.
Right. And so that's when the driver called us and we had to step in, really assess the situation and really figure out what was going on, because even though the client family member had called to schedule, the client was a part of a skilled nursing home. So we had to speak with the nurse to figure out what was going on, and sure enough, in speaking with the nurse said that she needed to go to ER because she's dehydrated. She hasn't been eating, she hasn't been drinking, and for us, you need to go through emergency services. She should have called 911, unfortunately. So you have to be very, very careful with these clients, because a lot of times they don't want those high ambulance bills.
That's it.
And so they will call you to transport their loved ones to emergency services, and it's just too much of a risk.
It's too much of a risk. And even though your drivers are first aid CPR trained, they're trained to be able to provide life-saving measures if they needed to step in and do that. But why put your drivers in that situation, right? If you can assess the situation prior to. So you're right. you just really want to make sure your drivers are prepared, because most of the time they're just trying to save. They're trying to save themselves like that high ticket bill. I don't blame them. I don't want to pay it either.
But it's sad though that the family would put their loved one in that situation, because I remember she was like, well, can you just put your posterior belt around her, you know, because he was like, she slumped over, like she's not sitting up. And they were just trying to do any and everything,
trying to figure it out, trying to make us like, almost in a sense like, we're gonna follow you, behind you all. If anything happens, we're right behind you. You know, we'll be. No. That's different, because you got to think about, once you load that individual in your vehicle, you now take on ownership. You are now responsible for anything that may transpire from the time you loaded that person up to the time you get to the hospital. So whatever may happen, even if she has a seizure, she passed out, whatever the case may be, like, you are responsible. And yeah, they may tell you, oh, it's okay, we're fine with it, we know the risk that we're taking. Something happens and that lady passed out, she hit her head inside that vehicle, whatever the case may be, you think they're gonna be that easy on you? They're gonna tell you, well, you shouldn't have transported it, this is your business.
Oh, they quick to turn it around.
We take your professional judgment. You know, you should have said no, you didn't have to do it. So
one of the reasons why we have the driver assessment form, because we're not gonna play them.
We're not playing those games.
We've been down that road before. We're not gonna do it.
So, you know, if your driver get there and based on your driver's intuition, you know how the women have those intuition, like, listen to your drivers, because they're in the field. They know how a patient should look when they're transporting someone. Like, they know what to look for. They know the signs, and especially if you're training them correctly, they know what to look for. So if they're calling you like, hey, Mo, Jazz, we have got a concern, I want to run this issue by you really quick, like, listen to them, troubleshoot with them. And if they say, it's not worth it, we shouldn't transport this person, we need to call 911, support them in that decision and stand by them with that. Yeah.
So I think they're probably wondering, did you guys offer a refund for that trip?
So y'all should know Jasmine by now. So you already know how that went. I didn't have to participate in that conversation.
I mean, okay, but we offered a credit. We offered a credit because before, I can tell you right now, because I took her call. I asked her 1,000,001 questions to get clarity on, whether or not she needed emergency services. And she was trying to be slick and smooth, or whatever you want to call it. And so, no, we did not issue her a refund. We issued her a credit. So, her loved one can utilize our services when they get out the ER, when they're ready. And that's a full credit, not a partial credit. Yeah. Really, it was within 24 hours. She shouldn't have got a refund. She shouldn't have got a credit.
Yeah, but we were because, again, she had utilized our service before.
But then it's situational, too. Yeah. So, I'm not even going to front, but it's situational. But for me, I really felt offended that she had put our company and our drivers in that uncomfortable position, because like I said, I asked 1,000,001 questions. I darn near was a 911 dispatch operator when I talked to her. And so, like I said, we've transported this client before, so her safety and well-being is a top priority for us.
Yes.
So,
and you did your due diligence, right? You did all your due diligence, and they knew that. They knew we had asked those questions. They knew that that's one of the things we was trying to determine, like, hey, does your mother require a higher level of care than transport than what we can offer, right?
And she was hospitalized. She was in the hospital for how many? 4 days?
So imagine if we had probably transported this lady and something happened to her inside of our vehicle, because it was obvious she did need to be hospitalized. It was obvious there was something going on with her. So,
and don't force your drivers to do things that they just simply don't want to do. Like, I know a couple of transportation providers that would have been like, load her up. But can you imagine? I could not imagine sitting there driving the van, and I got a lady, and I'm looking in my mirror, and her eyes rolling back behind her head, and
and you trying to talk to her, like, to keep her alert, like, that's just so uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I get it. We transport medically
fragile.
yeah, medically fragile individuals, and it happens, right? And I understand that, you know, sometimes people are sick, right? But it's one thing to like literally not be able to respond to us, not be able to respond to basic, you know, questions that we're asking them. So, you know, it's just use your discretion. Make sure you have, you know, your checklists in place so that you don't put yourself in those situations.
I was trying to get our posterior belt
for
them to see, just in case you guys get clients that are slumped over
we have one
or
here.
need more support when sitting in their wheelchair. You definitely want to consider the posterior belt, which is very useful. So if you have a client that's like slumped over and needs some extra support in the wheelchair, I definitely would say, you know, check it out. We do sell them.
This, I mean, honestly, with this belt, and this is the belt they wanted us to use. Like, they're familiar with this belt because we've used it on their mom before, so they knew we had one. But it's just, yeah, this is a game changer. It's definitely something that you need. Let me try it on. Can we pretend that that's the wheelchair?
I don't know if it's
girl, your waist.
So it goes around
under your arms, around the wheelchair.
Around the wheelchair, so it stops the person, and then you just tighten it up, and then it stops the person from, you know, falling forward. So it just gives you a little extra support. Also, insurance companies favor these.
But also be mindful too when you are placing this belt on someone. You're letting them know where you're placing it at, and that you know that, you know, if they have any type of medical device on them, that you're asking if it's okay. And we have a consent form in order to use this belt as well.
Yeah, actually, we have a video here on our platform all about dedicated to this belt. So I'll go ahead and leave it in the description if you guys want to learn more about the belt. But I think it's worth having. It's definitely worth a couple dollars, because you figure
it'll save you.
Incidences of individuals falling out of wheelchairs happen all the time. And of course, when you file claims, your insurance rockets high. So
you starting a whole nother video, girl.
I know. But yeah, so anyway, like I was just saying, you know, I think that
the driver assessment, it is important. If you don't have one, implement it with your business. But if you need one, we got you. You can use ours. We're going to leave a link below to that as well. So if you want to go out and purchase that, go ahead and purchase that assessment. I can assure you it is very beneficial to have within your business. Anything else, Jay?
That's it.
All right.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.